Hey, welcome back. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is Empire Builders, the rise and fall of civilizations. You know, living in New York, you get used to a certain rhythm of infrastructure. The subway map, the grid of streets, the way a package can get from a warehouse in New Jersey to your doorstep in Brooklyn in a matter of hours. We take it for granted, this nervous system of a modern state. But I want you to imagine a time when the very idea of a coordinated network was a revolutionary act of power. Not built with fiber optic cables or asphalt, but with dirt, stone, and human ambition. Today, we're talking about one of the most astonishing administrative feats of the ancient world. This is episode 12, the Persian Royal Road, Logistics as Statecraft. Picture this. It's the 5th century BCE. You are a royal messenger in the employ of the King of Kings, the ruler of the Achaemenid Persian Empire, which stretches from the Aegean Sea all the way to the Indus Valley. An order is issued from the magnificent capital of Susa. You mount your horse, and you begin a ride that will take you over 1,500 miles across mountains, rivers, and arid plains, all the way to the city of Sardis near the coast of modern-day Turkey. And you are expected to cover this distance, this entire breadth of the known world, in just 7 days. For a normal traveler, such a journey would take 3 months. But you are not a normal traveler. You are riding the spine of an empire. You are on the Royal Road. The story of the Royal Road isn't really about a road. It's about a realization. When Cyrus the Great and his successors like Darius I welded together this colossal collection of disparate kingdoms, Medes, Babylonians, Lydians, Egyptians, dozens of others, they faced the fundamental question of all empire builders. How do you hold this together? You can conquer with the sword, but you rule with information and control. The Persians understood that sovereignty wasn't just about collecting tribute. It was about the speed and reliability with which you could project your will. The Royal Road was their answer. It was statecraft, rendered in geography. Let's break down how it worked, because the genius is in the system. The road itself was an engineering marvel for its time, cleared, leveled, and maintained across some of the most challenging terrain on Earth. But the real innovation was the infrastructure built along it. At intervals of a day's ride, roughly every 14 to 20 miles, were stations called stathmoi. These were not just inns, they were relay posts, stocked with fresh horses and dedicated couriers. A messenger would arrive at a post, his horse spent, and immediately hand off his dispatches to a new rider on a fresh, waiting horse. This relay system, the Angarayan, meant the message never stopped moving. It traveled day and night. Herodotus, the Greek historian, gave us that famous line, "Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds." Sound familiar? It's inscribed on the main post office in New York City, a direct tribute to the Persian system. This wasn't mail service, it was the internet of antiquity. And the cargo wasn't just royal decrees. The road was the empire's circulatory system. Satraps, the provincial governors, used it to send regular reports to the king. Tax revenues, often in the form of silver and goods, flowed along secure routes to the imperial treasuries. Military units could be deployed with unprecedented coordination. But perhaps most importantly, it moved people. Inspectors known as the King's Eyes, or King's Ears, could travel incognito to check on the satraps, providing the central authority with independent intelligence. The road, by making travel faster and safer, also facilitated trade on an unimaginable scale. Babylonian textiles, Indian spices, Lydian gold, Egyptian grain, all moved along this network, binding the economies of the empire together and creating a shared, cosmopolitan world. The road didn't just carry orders, it manufactured unity. Now, I want to pause here and offer a personal reflection. As an engineer and entrepreneur, I'm obsessed with systems. We build apps to connect people, platforms to move data, companies to solve logistical problems. And sitting here, thinking about the Royal Road, I'm humbled. Darius I didn't have servers or satellites. He had to solve for distance, terrain, and human endurance using only the tools of his age. He standardized. He institutionalized. He created a protocol, a set of rules that every station, every courier, every official had to follow, from the heart of Persia to the shores of the Aegean. That's the essence of scalable systems design. He wasn't just building a road. He was building an API for empire. The real empire wasn't the territory on the map. It was the functioning, reliable network that made that territory meaningful. Of course, no system is perfect. The Royal Road was a tool of control, and control can breed resentment. The cost of maintaining this vast infrastructure was borne by the local provinces, a constant reminder of their subjugation. And while it fostered unity, it also made the centralized authority a single point of failure. When Alexander the Great invaded Persia centuries later, he didn't just defeat armies. He understood that to conquer the empire, he had to co-opt its systems. He marched his troops along these very roads, seized the relay stations, and used the Persian logistical network against its creators. He knew that the road was the empire's strength, and by capturing it, he could administer the very lands he was conquering. The tool that built the empire became the channel for its takeover. So, what's the takeaway from the dust of the Royal Road? It's this: the greatest monuments of power are often the most practical. We remember the pyramids, the great walls, the glittering palaces. But the Persian Empire's most enduring legacy might have been this simple, brilliant idea that to govern a vast space, you must collapse time. You must make the distant feel immediate. The Royal Road was a physical manifestation of a ruler's reach, whispering to every subject in every far-flung province. The king is watching, the king is listening, the king is here. It transformed the chaotic, slow-moving world of antiquity into something manageable, reportable, and controllable. It was the hardware upon which the software of administration ran. In our world, we've replaced horses with bandwidth and stone waystations with cloud servers. But the fundamental challenge remains the same. How do you create cohesion across distance and difference? How do you build trust in a system? The Persians taught us that the answer lies not in grand, static monuments, but in dynamic, living networks. They taught us that the true architecture of empire is not found in its palaces, but in its pathways. Thank you for joining me on this journey down the Royal Road. I'm Abnul J. Farabi. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who loves history, systems, or great stories. It helps the podcast grow more than you know. Empire Builders is a production of Light Not Studios. You can find more of our work and dive deeper into the stories behind the stories at lightnotstudios.com. Until next time, keep building.